First poem is called Worship, and it's about sunbathing. When picking your spot, look for a balance of elements. Always show respect to those wearing lower factors than you. Always check downwind before shaking out your towel. Lie back. Let the sand make a duplicate of your spine. Match your breath to the tide. Clear away all thoughts. That wasn't so tough. Let your body do the thinking. On the backs of your eyelids, you will likely see your childhood sweetheart in flames, doused in lamp oil. This is natural. Let her dance. You deepen by the hour. Last year I went scuba diving in Mexico, and we met this very experienced scuba diver, and he was telling me, well, you may know that when you go scuba diving below a certain depth, you may suffer from nitrogen narcosis, which can involve all sorts of strange effects, including becoming childlike or seeming drunk or becoming stupid. And one of the tests they have underwater to make sure that you're still compass mentis is they get a kind of underwater chalkboard and they write, 2 + 3 equals, and you have to write the sum to show that your brain's working properly. And if you can't do the sum in a few seconds, then you have to go back to the surface. He was telling me about, he'd done a cave dive, and at the bottom of the cave, he'd had a kind of childhood memory return to him, and he'd been with his belly on the floor of the cave looking up, and he'd remembered being in that same position underneath the kitchen table when he was young, and his parents kind of doing things around him in the kitchen. And I basically stole that idea from the poem. Hopefully it's not a poem, so that's okay. It's called Cave Dive. Every 60 metres of depth is equivalent to 1 alcoholic drink. That's a quote from the Diver's Handbook. He remembers being 6, lying on his back beneath a kitchen chair, gazing up at his father's unmapped nostrils, his mother's skirt riffling past like a spotted eagle ray. Underneath the dining table, he found pencil marks, a quarter circle, and 2 words underscored: possible extension. Back then, it was a code, or perhaps the solution to a code. On the cave bed, it takes a blue whale's long blink to fathom what 1 + 1 turns into. The sky peers down from blue-green slots like the lamp fittings of his youth. His slow mind thinks time is just another surface. He can pass through the swirling halocline that keeps us from our pasts, the fresh and the preserved. Back in his father's study, pouring a bag of marbles across the rug. In the glow from the tentacled lampshade, he holds up his bossa, sees himself swimming in its spiral reef. Letting drift his aqualung, he is either young or drunk. From his lips he scatters balls of glass. So I'll read one which is Sestina, which is, as you probably know, a poem that has 6 words that get repeated throughout. Each end word gets repeated 7 times. And can I just ask, has anybody read the book Rings of Saturn by W.G. Sebald? No one? Good. It's supposed to be the sort of book you pretend that you've read and it sounds impressive, and you name drop. I know what my friends think of me because of the things they say. Joe, you are shiny and worthwhile and always thinking of others. I am not so great. I could name at least 5 people who are better overall. Here's one of my faults. I'm forever calculating how to present myself in any given situation. Calculating people give W.G. Sebald's Rings of Saturn as a gift and think that the person receiving the book will think better of them. After reading it, they will say, Joe, it was beautiful. I mean, he's like the great Gramps I never had. He even made Suffolk compelling. I always give Rings of Saturn as a gift, sometimes even to boys. Always is too much. I've given it twice, if I'm calculating honestly. Once to a girl who thought I was great for just over a month, until she suspected, correctly, that I think I'm more interesting than her. If I say that the boy I gave it to was far better at football than me, then I think you understand. Better to be left for dead on the right wing, always knowing that the boy who embarrassed you, let's say his name's Luke, has this book in his bedroom. I'm calculating that he won't have sold it because he thinks, nay hopes, that one day he might read it, this great and clever book that was a gift from a friend who's not great at football, but by God, he's got a brain, and ultimately it's better to have enormous thoughts than to be almost semi-pro. I think great people don't have these sorts of thoughts. I always keep my mauled copy somewhere half inconspicuous, calculating the spot where guests will see it, sure, but they will not say, I bet Joe put that there so I see it. More likely they'll say, huh, such a clever book, just lying there next to his football boots. It's great to know someone like Joe who's clever but doesn't rub your face in it, calculating people are some of the worst in existence. This poem is better for its honesty. Even when I admit this stuff, my friends can always fall back on my honesty. He thinks too much, they think. Best not say anything about that Sestina. He'll always be great to us, better than great, more like excellent, or this is what I'm calculating. Just... It's okay. Has anybody here seen, you may be more likely that you've seen this film, Apocalypto, directed by Mel Gibson, quite average movie. Have you seen that? Yes. Anyway, the best bit in that is in the middle, when it's set in Mayan times, and there's a human sacrifice on top of the temple, and they chop a guy's head off, and in a bit of directorial vision, he has the camera seeing through the guy's head as his head's chopped off, and it bounces down the steps. And I wanted to try and capture his thoughts in those final bouncing moments. It's called Deaths I'll Never Live Through, number 3. Yucatan, Mexico, the year 1009. Beheaded on top of Koba Temple, relieved of my freight like a cab unhitched from its trailer, down 160 epiphanies, one for each step. At last I get you, Jackson Pollock, now I'm spraying red in cartwheels. Past rows of painted sports fans who wouldn't know a masterpiece if it attacked them with an axe, who wouldn't know conquistadors if they turned up in massive boats. And bouncing by, I try to say, laugh now, 'cause soon your temple's only human sacrifice will be the lopping off of loved ones' heads in cruelly angled photographs. But no one likes a smartass from the future, so they slow clap as I pinball to a meeting with my pals, previous contestants, stacked like profiteroles, watching from the gravel pit, the heads of bad sports, bad poets, the heads of the purest children, all smiling up. I'm coming, my sweets, I have so much news. I just finished with a poem which is a vision of speed dating in the middle distant future. Future dating. Sat along rotating laminate benches, we wear scrolling badges that display name, favourite thing, emotional state. I am Joe, money, anxious, as Portia, old buildings, extraordinary, swivels into view with Art Deco cheekbones, sky-rise posture. She speaks in intricate structures with witty stucco asides and is either marriage material or a one-off demolition fuck in a room full of Lego. I give her green as she dioramas into Karen, knitting, distracted, her chopsticks clicking as though making a scarf from her udon noodles. Our 3 minutes pass in excruciating nip one, pearl one chit-chat. She sucks up her tongue, draws a frowning emoticon in the air before swishing away as Sylvia, firearms, impatient, appears. Shotgun eyes, fingers twitching, a bruise on her right shoulder the colour of rock dust. She asks for my favourite assassination, then lets off rounds of semi-automatic laughter while I press red and red as Kate, imperfections, unclear, pulls up with semi-translucent hair. I compliment her body, her lips, the infinite detail of her eyes, but she says she can take no credit. Then she's screaming, quietly, that her battery is about to die as she starts to fizz like an unearthed plug. Thanks.